I'm Chris from Ginger Paint. Some of you will know me from years ago, some of you haven't yet had the pleasure. And yeah, some people maybe just stumbled across this. Fair play, it's nice to have you here. I've been painting, airbrushing, model car body shells and everything else that I get presented with for the past 22 years. I don't do it so much health reasons and full-time job and kids. I mean, I don't have as much time to do it as I used to. But I still get asked quite often how you do these things, how things have been done, what's the best way to approach things. So yeah, I thought it was about time that I swallowed my pride and posted a video, slightly awkwardly, of myself going through these bits and pieces. I'm not going to stay here and tell you that this is the best way to do things. I'm not going to tell you that you must do things like this. I'm just going to go back to years of experience and how I approach things and how I did things. Hopefully some of it's beneficial. Feel free to ask any questions in the comments. Feel free to suggest other ways to do things. We can approach those in forthcoming videos if you think it's interest. But to start off with, I have an FTX Carnage shell here. I said I'd do for a customer. So yeah, we'll take you through the steps and bits and pieces. That's it, just out of the bag. You can see yourself, it's fairly cloudy, fairly murky. Needs a bit of attention. Let's get started. Okay, the first step, probably the most important step in the whole thing that people often overlook, preparation. Dead easy. There's a reason why people say it's the first and foremost the most important thing you need to do. It's not terribly complicated for these things. You hear loads of people, I've seen and heard loads of things over time, people scoring the inside of body shells, people using all sorts of solvents on it. You don't really need to. I mean, for 20 years, I've simply used nondescript dishwashing soap, sponge, some hot water. Job's a good one. The paints are formulated the key to the lesson, and what you're doing really here is removing the release agent from the mold. That's the big important thing to do. It's a light oil they use to get the physical mold away from the plastic when it's done. You know, and the best thing in the world to remove that, not damage the plastic, this show formulated to remove oil and grease. So, pretty liberal amount on a sponge. Treat yourself to a new sponge, by the way, they're, you know, pennies. This is about a third of one that I've had for years and years, but it's kept clean, it's kept right, and it's as it can do. And just lashings of water, decent amount of dishwater soap, get into every nook and cranny in the shell, make sure everything's rubbed over, it'll break down the oil as you go, and nice clean surface to key to. Jobs are good.
Is this my magic? Welcome to the WODAS, the WODAS, the Workshop of Dreams and Stuff. It's not that tidy. It's a working area. What can you do? Right, the next thing to do, take our shell, nicely prepped, nicely clean, and we'll throw some liquid mask at it. Again, I do this in volume, so I use a spray gun. It's the biggest spray gun you can get. All the pressure in the world, and slowly build up a couple of layers on this. we'll leave that to dry now. It's just a matter of building a couple of layers up slowly, making sure that you have decent coverage and everything's done. Some more intricate body shells, I find myself just dropping a little bit of mask in with a sponge or a brush to make sure everything's covered. It's one of those things with liquid mask. It only goes on to come off. You don't want any left on the shelf. It's one of the most expensive things that you'll continually keep on buying. But if you don't put enough on, boy, you'll know about it. You're better off. If it's too thick, it's a little bit awkward to cut, but it comes off really easily. If it's too thin, you will sit there and pick and pick and pick for hours. Typically, I find 2 coats of the spray gun is sufficient, or it's three to 4 coats dabbing it with a sponge or a brush. Either way, there's not much point in watching this dry, so we'll catch you in a bit.
Once that's all masked up, everything's cured, you see yourself a nice even coverage on things. Make life easy for yourself. Mark out the windows, mark out any grill detail that you want. Draw yourself a centre line up the body shell so you can work out the symmetry in any design that you do. And then it's just a matter of, get scribbling, go from there. Okay, so with your design drawn on one half of the body shell, you can grab yourself some masking tape, some paper. I use some paper transfer tape that we have with the vinyl cutter. It's just basically a really wide masking tape. Place it on half of your shell, line it up to the centre line. Use it then to sketch around. Give yourself a centre point to mark off. Line up your marks that you've put on that. Symmetry is as easy as that. No point watching the rest of it, so I'll work away. Okay, so that's everything marked out. All ready to rock and roll. We're now next ready to grab our scalpel. Fresh blade's always the best for this. And go around and start to scalpel out what we need. At this stage, do everything. There's no point in trying it whenever you've got a layer of paint down. It's much easier to see and judge what you're doing as well for trim lines and everything else. Start off with your window surrounds, grills and lights and all those details, and then get on the design side of things from there. There will be some trim lines in this. I'll show you the easiest way to do that once I get this knifed out. Okay, so with everything scalpeled out, some meths, bit of rag, remove all the cut lines that you have already there. And you can see, maybe you can't in the camera, but you can see the edges of where you've actually cut to. Use that as a reference now to trim line around it. Give yourself a mil, 2 mil. Take your time. Do what you can. Again, quite boring, so see you in a bit.
So that's us back now out into the workshop. Obviously in a painting environment, so mask on. Sounding like a Dalek once again, such is life. It's time to start throwing some paint at this. The basic rule of thumb is always start off with dark colours first. It avoids ghosting through them. And make your life easy. Pick out the details that you know are never going to change. Nothing's going to happen with them. So the likes of your headlights, your grills, all those dark details that just are what they are. Make your life easy. Do them now to start off with. Say the grills themselves are the simplest things. It's again just all the right equipment. So peel off where you want to paint. Make sure your pressure's where you want it to be and what you want it to be. I've pre-mixed the majority of these, so I know they're pretty bang on. And the simplest, easiest thing in the world, RCS Hex Mesh FX. Comes in A4 sheets, and just makes your life so much easier for doing this. I mean, I remember years ago masking in individual lines in the grills and everything else, and it was just a complete and utter disaster. Whereas this now, stuck on, dusted over it. Fade it in round. Once that's back to the silver, it's your grill. Really easy. I finish this off, come back and do the headlights.
Okay, so we were able to get the grill finished off, the two side vents finished off. My wife had black in the gun as well. We did the window surrounds and the bed of the truck as well. All solid colour, there's nothing to worry about that. So next thing we'll do is pop the headlights out and get on with those. Okay, and as a guy, a clever man once told me, work smarter, not harder. This was a quick tip was shown to me a while ago. This is a dauber. Can we see it here? I think it's originally intended to be for nails and stuff like that. Basically, it's a pointer with a ball in the end, and enables us to do some pretty cool stuff, especially whenever everything in full-size cars is going.
toward LEDs and everything else. So pop some orange paint at the end into your headlamp, and bang, bang, bang. And dead quick, dead easy. There is your LED indicator. See on the other side. Just like that. And again, if you want to, you can do the same thing with white for an LED style bulb. Just, if you can see, just like that. So before I've done anything else with the mask on, you've got yourself some nice little details there to work with. Step back here and get on with the rest of the headlight. Okay, so for the main headlight assembly, I have little vinyl cut circles. Just remaining of the sheet there, just for this exact purpose. Make life easy as much as anything else. And all we do is, again, you can go mad with headlights if you want to. You know, if you want to, it can really set a shell off. But again, it's what it's for and what it's using it for and everything else. You can get quite an effective design just by something dead simple. So with the vinyl circles, what we're doing is aiming with a fine black brush again, aiming for the center of the vinyl circles. Just to offer up a very, very subtle fade around where you have everything else. Idea being, whenever you remove them, you're left with, I'm struggling to catch up the camera, you have a very delicate fade around where you need to be. Again then, with the vinyl removed, further and around the rest of the headlight. With the headlight, it's very much less is more. Here we have what we're looking at. The whole thing then gets backed up with a fairly bright as can be silver. Unless you want to drop some more white into the actual headlamp cluster itself. Depends on the look you're going for. just like that. We'll now go ahead, get this backed up, get this, crack on with the rest of it. Okay, so for the next step, we're going to fill in the center section of the body with a black and graphite marbled effect. Okay, this always looks really intricate. It's the easiest thing in the world to do. You need obviously the surface prepped, done everything else, ready to rock and roll. Helps if it's not warm actually. And the plastic bag. This one's already been used for the same purpose. Okay, so starting off with your darker color, make sure it's a fairly thin mixture. You want to spray it on. Conversely to anything else, you want to spray it on fairly heavily. You want to make sure it's wet when it goes on, it stays wet. So we're better off doing this in sections if we can. So we'll start off with the bonnet. Get this off so you can see. When that's wet, get our bag and simply dab into it. Making sure that we get everywhere with it. And you'll end up looking like that. Hello. I mean, the downside to this is you will get absolutely covered, but it is quite a cool effect and really minimal effort. Okay, I think we're happy enough with that. Now what we'll do, just to finish it off and make sure it doesn't look quite as haphazard, we'll throw some drop shadows into around the shape as well, just so it's leading itself. I turn the pressure down, it can help a little bit. we should end up with something looking a little bit like this. Because of the design that's already there, you're going to want to be a little bit more aggressive with the drop shadow than you normally would be. Otherwise, it'll just pale into everything else. I'm going to crack on with this. Again, you've seen a section, there's no point seeing the whole thing. See you in a bit. Okay, so with all that said and done, difficult to see on camera, I'm sure. We have our marbled effect. All we need to do then is back this all up with silver. You can do graphite if you want to. It just doesn't really matter. You can do pink if you want to. It's just graphite might be lost a little bit, so we'll back it with silver. Have it stand out quite a bit. And again, you should be able to see the effect of itself starting to come through already. It's going to take a couple of coats of silver, back up to black again, just to make it really opaque. Yeah, but once again, no point watching me do the whole thing. Okay, so where we're up to now, the marble black section's finished. We are now going to do a ghosted flame section into the back in purple. Because this is a little bit of a more fickle way of doing things, I'm going to hit the back bed with a coat of RCS Prep. Just stops the static, stops the rubbish build up, and makes it a little bit easier to fade into. So there you go. Bang that back in the heat again for 2 minutes. That'll flash itself off really, really quickly, and we'll start to throw down some candy purple. Okay, that's the RCS Prep flashed off now. So with candies and transparents, it's take it easy with it. You know, light coats, build it up slowly. You can add more, you can't take it away that easily. So yeah, we'll take 2 minutes. I mean, the first coat is just a dusting to give it something to key to. Again, let that flash off, and we'll continue to build up as we go. Okay, so 3 really thin coats, and this have us ready to rock. I'm going to drop a quick black drop shadow just round, just to give a bit of definition, a bit of depth to it. Again, when you're fading into a transparent, it's not as bright, it's not as aggressive a fade. That still might be a little bit subtle for the camera to pick up. Now, clean the brush out, get on with the fun part. Okay, so ghosted flames. For this we're going to need quite a thin white mixture, and some RCS stencils. Yeah, cool. These are kind of like a must-have, to be honest. But yeah, so the trick is here, pop it down to get just some definition, some shape, lightly dust the white over it then, and it will start to come to life for you. Just a case of, see the definition of the flames in there, and build it up as you go. Fill the whole thing. Go nuts. Okay, so stencil work pretty much all done on this. It doesn't take long. Just take, because you're lightly dusting it, it flashes off instantly. You can move on to the next thing. And that's all you're looking for, just some definition in the candy purple. Because whenever you back this up with a darker colour, that white's going to pop through and really show highlights in it. Depending how confident you are with the brush, make sure it's nice and fine. Drop some freehand through it as well. There are some sections that are quite hard to fill with a stencil. That's done. Next thing to do then is back this up with darker colour and go from there. Taking the camera off the mount just to give you a better idea of how that turned out so far. Again, that's the candy purple with the white ghosted detail in it, and backed up then with black fading into an opaque purple. Okay, so as we're making progress, it's time for a little bit of completely unnecessary roof details. This has been lined out with 3M trimline tape, just to give a bit of depth to the teardrop. And yeah, we'll go ahead and get this painted again. It's just a gradual fade in from different colours, from black to dark purple to a fluorescent purple and to a white, just to give it some depth and some bit more interesting. Let's get the mask on, crack on. Okay, so that's the teardrop. Finished off, backed up with white. Ching! Just like I say, gives it a little bit of depth and something a bit, just a bit of a focal point in the middle of the shell. Next thing is, get the rest of the mask off and fill out the front section, the rest of the fluorescent. See you in a bit. Okay, so we have everything laid down here now, with the exception of the base coat and a normal way of doing things. The backing, white coat. At this point, we'll record it because I've never seen it from that side. It's probably quite interesting. So, here we go. again, a few more coats from that, but you can see how that really lifts the fluorescent and everything else that we're doing with. Yeah, a couple more coats of this. We'll seal it, and then we'll get the masks off it.